Oi oi oi, what a letdown boys. As the patch 14.14 patch preview showed a lot of promise on good champions to target for changes, but alas, some of these same champs refused to step aside. So without further delay, let's start off with our very first returning champ in the top lane of this top champs list. Camille somehow, someway managed to evade yet another series of nerfs this patch, with our counter matchup actually getting nerfed instead. Oh yes, you heard that right, Jax got nerfed by a 2-second cooldown, while the queen of top lane herself gets to reign in this solo lane for yet another patch. With the lack of enough changes to shake up the top lane meta, there won't be much of a difference in champ pulls right now. Now with the nerfs to Warmogs, we will have to wait and see if players will opt back into bruisers instead of tanks, but the current prediction says it's probably unlikely. So as we stated multiple times already here and in many videos prior, if you are a hard carry player and want to be in control of your own LP gains in the top lane, just pick up Camille. This second top lane champion, however, might be a less expected one to watch. Irelia has just gotten buffs to her early scaling, with a nice attack speed buff to her passive and a cooldown reduction to her R. While these changes might not mean a lot, it is a good sign, as Irelia top is one of the few champions that can deal with the ADC top meta, and even for mid lane. Keep in mind though, Irelia is only as strong as your mechanics and thinking skills. It really shines the brightest when the player knows how to properly Q through the wave to land an E, and to heal to full to turn a 2v1 situation around. A big mistake a lot of noob Irelia players make is maxing E second. Trust us when we tell you, you guys have got to max W second, as the damage reduction and the boost in damage output is way more valuable. Having more base damage in the W means you now have the ability to almost one-shot the backline caster creeps, giving you a way to spam Q. And in instances where you need to buy time, having up to 50% damage reduction means you can tank it out for your team while you fight it out in the front lines. And lastly, a good combo to send you guys off with is start off and engage with Qing onto a minion, E once to throw out the first blade, R the enemy to slow and trap them, then Q to proc the passive to reset. QE again to stun while they are still slowed by your ult, and then Q again. That is a really lengthy explanation, but we promise this is the best way to land every ability you have, and it ensures a stun if you perform it properly. Now, if you're looking to master Irelia or any of the champions covered in this happy little video, then make sure to click on the link at the top of the video description, visit gameloop.com, and sign up to unlock access to hundreds of challenger guides. We've got guides for every role, macro guides, and courses for every champion in the game. There is no better way to fast track your path to challenger, so head on over to Gameloop and sign up, goddammit. And moving swiftly on to mid lane. So, Riot has finally heard our prayers. Tristana mid is almost dead. She's still strong, but now that Riot pinched her mana pool by 50 and more importantly added a mana cost of 50 to her Q, means she can no longer auto push mid waves on repeat with no contest. That being said, our first mid lane recommendation is Corki. We don't get it, Riot found a way to gut Tristana, but kept her rival matchup alive with a slight HP nerf. With the Yodel out of the way and people realizing that Q max Corki is finally better than the E max, it's going to be a landslide in mid. You will now be able to freely reign over control mages, ADCs, and more. However, we have noticed that in Korea, Chovy has started to do some devious experiments by just playing any old ADC mid. He's tried Draven, Caitlyn, and more, so perhaps Corki's rival isn't gone, but has simply been replaced. Time will tell. Meanwhile, another mid laner that is looking to make a comeback is Zed. So before we have any Z1 tricks complain in the comments, which is all but inevitable, I'll at least make the case. The buffs help, but they don't drastically change his gameplay. Without a doubt, the issue with Zed and most AD assassins right now is the itemization. So if that's the case, you may be wondering, why the hell are we recommending this champion? Well, it's because the mid lane matchups are just good for him. A lot of noob players hate doing one thing, and that is reading. So without knowing how bad Tristana mid is right now, she's going to be permanently out of mana. And Corki did take a slight hit to his HP bar, meaning you can pick an assassin like Zed and farm some freebies with your buffs. A build that Zed players currently favor is rushing either Opportunity or Profane if the lane is even, but if you are ahead, then rush Hubris. This item allows you to ramp up that early game and abuse the squishy guys mid. Your big red target to dodge, however, is going to be Irelia. Irelia is your hardest counter because if she has her W up and you try to do either a W full combo or the unfortunate R full combo, she can hold W and you can go into your fountain to cry because she will take absolutely no damage. Not only that, but you will also probably queue the minion wave after to heal up all of your damage, and then you really sit there and wonder what the hell went wrong in your life. Who knows? You might even return to this video to drop a dislike. But yeah, ban Irelia if you want to use Zed. In the AD carry tab, Zeri and Ezreal are the top performers of the role if you have good mechanics. This requirement can be lowered if you are paired with a CC engaged support, so it's easier to land Qs, but the choice is yours. Zeri with Shiv is the best scaling champion in the game right now with how all of the other ADCs are so weak, and she counters Ezreal with her mobility. Your main counter, honestly, is Ashe, but that matchup turns on its head once you hit level 6 and have Cleanse Up. You simply force the all in and suddenly Ashe becomes a deer in front of headlights. The trick to Zeri is keeping track of all of the enemy's abilities. If they are missing their big CC ability, then feel free to auto E-in, auto for poke, and to give a slight chase before backing off. Zeri isn't the greatest at being a bully since your Q is blocked by enemy targets, so finding timings to dash in and apply pressure is key to this champ. Ezreal, as mentioned, is also the next best carry. With the buff from the earlier patch putting him back on par with the ADC pool once again, he finally evened up the playing field. But with the ADC pool so scattered and the majority of ADCs being so weak early game right now, Ezreal takes the stage with his strong early game abilities and 1 to 2 item spikes. There is a lot to say about this champion, as we haven't covered him on YouTube for a while, so head on over to GameLeap where we recently dropped an Ezreal and Skillshot guide. Our best single tip that we can leak right here, right now, however, is that when you play Ezreal, make sure you don't take fights without a stacked passive. Having a bonus 35% attack speed from level 1 onwards is absurd, and you can rival a double axe Draven if played properly. If you space his autos with Q and time your autos to when he has to catch his axes, you can truly be the strongest ADC even level 1. Your counters are Zeri and Ashe, so make sure you are keeping space and holding E for critical moments such as dodging Zeri W and Ashe R. In the jungle, a lot of previous AP champs have finally taken a hit, allowing AD junglers back into the meta, but not quite at full power just yet. But a random dragon has found her way towards the top of the ladder with this new build that everyone has been running. Shojin Liandry's with Fleet Footwork Shyvana has been doing some crazy things in high elo with her ability to match the tempo of even the fastest clearing junglers and controlling space with her dragon form E-spam. The Shojin allows you to scale up easily and fight early game because you are building actual AD and HP, rather than the other AP Shyvana build where you are rushing Nashors and give up the entirety of early game until you pocket 3000 gold. That being said, you can now have an easier time contesting camps, scuttle crabs and objectives such as grubs and dragon with your raw AD damage, and Fleet allows you to stick onto your opponent for a little while longer with that burst of speed. The second item, Liandry's, is what will help you transition into AP, as your poke will be massive and you will also be a pretty large HP tank. Now, rather than listing another AP pick, it's time to throw back an AD jungler into the pool. Kindred has been hit with a slight nerf this patch, but honestly it's deserved. While she wasn't in the apex tiers of the AP GOATs, she was always finding ways to impact the map early while the AP champs were scaling up. Taking advantage of the early game and setting enemy junglers behind is Kindred's bread and butter, as it only takes a 1-kill lead with a Mark to go full on God mode. The build is still up for debate on what you want, but a lot of Kindreds that we see are going Kraken into crit if you want to hard carry, or they go into Triforce for the safer option. The choice is yours as to how confident you are in your spacing and carrying abilities. Support is a bit interesting, with a lot of Warmog abusers dying out now, so we've got to find out what champion can take that center stage. Other than the GOAT Blitzcrank, our last champ recommendation is going to be Milio. We don't know who at Riot decided that this small child wasn't strong enough, but they gave him a ton of buffs to quite literally every single basic ability and passive. The passive burn is now higher and scales on ally level. His Q is a shorter cooldown, longer range, and refunds mana now if you hit just one enemy champ. The W got a small 2300 units of extra recast range and has an updated indicator. And lastly, the E has a better scaling ratio with a boost of 15%. In a sentence, this champion is cracked now, with his only predator in the wild being a Blitzcrank, so if you don't want to take our advice and play Blitz, ban it and lock in Milio instead. And that's going to do it for this one. As ever, to unlock access to hundreds of challenger guides over at GameLeap.com, all you got to do is click on the link down below at the top of the video description box. So visit GameLeap, sign up, and hundreds of hours of coaching, VODs, and tips videos will be at your fingertips. Alright, thanks for watching guys, hope you guys did enjoy this one, and we're going to catch all of you guys just a tad bit later, man.